We consider those who had the unique experience of seeing the souls of Purgatory to be privileged souls, but there was one such person who at first didn't consider herself to be privileged at all. In fact, she often dreaded going to sleep at night, not knowing who might come to visit her. Eventually, as these visits from the souls continued, and as she was able to see how her prayers aided them to go to heaven, her attitude changed. This privileged soul was Eugenie von der Leyen. Born in 1867, she grew up in high German nobility and bore the title of princess. By the order of her confessor, she kept a diary of the suffering souls that visited her. Often, her accounts of the visits sounded very matter-of-fact and told very simply and authentically and how she felt around the souls. After her death in 1929, the diary was handed over to Eugenio Pacelli, who later became Pope Pius XII. Before he was made pope, he had been a good friend of the family and was a learned mysticism expert. Eugenia is described as a cheerful, affectionate, generous, and realistic woman. She was well loved by her family, especially the children. In this video, we will focus on her interactions with a man who she had known as a child, who was referred to as Old Heinz, although she had many souls that came to visit her. Make sure to watch the video of her visits from the shepherd Fritz, a man who had been murdered by his own son, and how she helped him during his time in Purgatory. November 15th. I saw for the first time the Old Heinz in the garden. He looks terrible. November 21st. Heinz was there for a very long time, restless and looking angry. He whines continuously. Praying makes him even more restless. I would almost say more angry. At dawn, Katerina came, another poor soul who had died in 6080, long ago. It felt very agreeable not to be alone with Heinz. Now she began by herself her lovely prayer so that I had to weep. Heinz stood nearby. The difference between the two is great, like between shadow and light, like anger and meekness. November 22nd. Both were here again. Heinz abhors prayer, which is plain to see on his face, but I don't care about it, I pray all the same. It might sound odd to us to hear that a soul from Purgatory gets irritated when prayed for, when this is the reason why they came in the first place. But, as explained by many other mystics, the soul that dies with stain or rust on their soul have the same faults, shortcomings, and rust in Purgatory as they did during life. Although they do need prayer, many souls require much purification, and in the beginning, they may find an aversion to it. November 25th. Heinz was here alone. He was so wild that I thought he might even fall into my bathtub. I said to him, "Do you have something to tell me?" Then he grew totally wild, ran away, came back again and moaned terribly. It was not pleasant. Again, this wildness and restlessness drive the soul into aggressive behaviors as they did in life, but even more so as they no longer have the distractions and pleasures of life to cover up. One soul, whom Eugenie described as acting like a mad dog, said to her, "The evil is still in me, it still sticks to me." November 29th. Only Heinz there. Praying and questioning irritates him. December 1st. Very unpleasant night. Old Heinz was there for a long time and very horrific. I asked if he had shot at my grandfather at the time. That made him furious. Before I could resist, he threw himself upon me and strangled me so firmly by the neck that I thought I would suffocate. It didn't last more than a second, to be sure, but it was horrible and totally upset me. I shall never forget those angry eyes. At each of these incidents of being touched by ghosts, 3 until now, I have more of a feeling of disgust than that of pain, as if I had to touch a toad or a snake. December 2nd. He was with me from 2 to 6 o'clock. He was so obtrusive that I could hardly defend myself. I had the particle of the cross before him. Then he screamed and withdrew in a corner, where he then stayed like an angrily growling dog. It was very bad. December 3rd. At first Heinz and then Katerina. I asked them, "Don't you still see the other ghost?" They said, "No." I asked, "Why not?" Katerina said, "This circle has been overcome." I said, "Please tell me if it is an angry ghost." She said, "Save him." Heinz was quiet but horrible. The circle that has been overcome refers to the purifying process in Purgatory. According to the statements from the souls Princess Eugenia saw, there are different stages in Purgatory that souls must go through, according to the purifications they need. December 4th. Heinz is here in the night. I prayed with him, which is altogether indifferent to him. It strikes me ever more how dark the phantoms initially are in their face. Actually, it clarifies only when they can speak. In the beginning of the apparitions, when souls come in much need of help, they often are not able to speak, or if they do, it is only 1 to 2 words. However, as they progress through their purification, they are able to speak more. December 6th. Heinz was there almost half the night. The particle of the cross is my protection. Now he doesn't come so near to me. December 8th. Heinz was furious. He threw himself on the floor. I prayed to the Mother of God, and he became a little bit more quiet. These prayers of mine are very inattentive, however, pure lip prayer, for my whole thinking is preoccupied with the phantom, which I do not lose out of sight for fear. At 3 o'clock in the night, he went away to return at 5. "Go away. I will go to the church. I can pray for you better there." Then he screamed horribly, so I prayed again with him. Then he sobbed so badly that I wanted to say something nice to him. Then it crossed my mind that when I was a child, he had more than once handed me some prunes over the fence. So I said to him, "I thank you as yet that you often did me a pleasure. I didn't forget it. Just tell me how I can help you. I do it with pleasure." There came a gargling sound and he reached out his hand to me. I took it. It was hot. Then his face turned more friendly, if one may call it so, for he is very repulsive. I said, "Now go away, I must go to the church," and he went away. Now our friendship is established, I believe, because as soon as I can show love instead of fear, it becomes better. December 12th. Heinz was here a long time, a bit better, also seems not so hostile to prayer anymore. Again, Eugenia's spiritual director instructs her to ask Heinz if he shot at her grandfather. December 18th. When I returned, Heinz was in my room. I said, "I've just prayed for you a lot. Tell me what you want." He said, "Forgiveness." I asked, "Did you fire at my grandfather?" He said, "Instigated, slandered." I said, "I have to ask you, were you ill or possessed?" He said, "Possessed." I asked, "By whom?" He said, "Spirit of lying." All of this he said in a whining voice, and he looked pitiful. I am so happy that he finally speaks. It actually seems an injustice to me that I uncover the faults of the poor ones. Like a loveless breach of confidence, obedience and charity are somehow in conflict within me. Her spiritual director, Father Weiser, writes, "I knew the Heinz as well as Fritz the shepherd and others. He lived across from my house, and I visited him often in the days when he was mentally clouded. The shot hole is still shown today. Heinz died about 50 years ago. Now he confesses that he had been the instigator of the fatal shot, and answers to the question I had occasioned, whether he was mentally ill or possessed, and that he had been possessed by the spirit of lying. The reason I try to ask this question is, I am of the opinion that a large part of crazy people are possessed." December 19th. At dawn came Heinz. "Do you want to pray with me?" "Yes." "Does it relieve you?" "Yes." "Why did you strangle me then, a short time ago?" "In torment." "Won't you do it again?" "No." "Why don't you go then to your relatives?" "No way to them." During prayer, he is very much different now. December 24th. Heinz was with me for a long time. He looks better. "Are you doing better?" "Yes." "Are you released soon?" 18 times 7. "Tell me, are there other souls with me that I cannot yet see?" "Yes." "Why can't I see them?" "They are not permitted." Then he was gone. December 28th. Heinz was here. Since he looked so sad, I asked him why. He said, "You didn't give me anything." I said, pardon me, I know I have neglected you, because I feel also so sorry for the other ones. But I shall take care of you first now. December 29th. Heinz was here. I asked many things, but got no answer. He prayed eagerly, and when I gave him holy water, he kept altogether quiet. December 30th. Heinz was here a very long time. Whichever prayer I prayed, he was always dissatisfied, expressing it in moaning and unrest. Finally, the memorare came to my mind, and then he was quiet. It occurred to me now that surely the Mother of God had saved him, so I said, "How have you been saved?" There was no answer. I said, "I want to know." He said, "Mother of Mercy." I said, "Did you always venerate her?" He answered, "Yes." Such communications are always heartwarming, and I was very happy. How many similar questions I had already asked without getting an answer. January 4th, 1924. Afterwards came Heinz. I asked, "Are you content with me now?" He said, "Yes." I asked, "Should I do everything for you and nothing for the others?" He said, "Give me more." How he sees through me, because actually I could give more if I were not just I. January 10th. Heinz came in full daylight. He looked very content. I said, "You just look very content. Are you doing better?" He said, "Yes." "Just tell me how it is that you still have to expiate, for I've offered up for you so many times a plenary indulgence, haven't I?" He said, "Yes." I asked, "Have you experienced it?" He said, "Yes. God is just. The torment ceases, but the punishment doesn't." And then he was gone. January 11th. Heinz was here almost the whole night. Now he looks very content. I said, "Just tell me, why have you been possessed?" He said, "Giving scandal." I said, "Where are you now?" He answered, "In the shadow." I asked, "Still far from the good God?" He said, "Yes." I asked him, "Shall you come often to me?" He said, "No." "Why not?" "You cannot give me anything anymore." "But I can help you with pleasure all the same." "I am released." "What do you have to suffer as yet?" "The punishment of deprivation." Then he was gone. How wonderful, all of this. I only write down what I can hear with certainty, for many times I must ask repeatedly, as he often mumbles so much. Heinz did not come back after this visit, as Eugenia's prayers and sacrifices benefited him enough to bring him to a new spiritual level in Purgatory. Many other souls continued to come to Eugenia for help, an exhausting work on her part, but a work that also helped her to grow in selflessness, generosity, and holiness. May we do our part for the poor souls as well.